Hello again from Metro Manila, the Philippines, Southeastern Asia, and good Saturday evening. Franklin Roosevelt is known, of course, as the battle. The 1951, the 22nd Amendment to the U.S. Constitution passed in 1951 meant that no U.S. president um, after Harry Truman, who was the current incumbent, was exempted from the um, amendment, although he did not seek a second full term. But since then, no US president has been able to serve under the normal circumstances more than 8 years or two terms, and under the exceptional circumstances, that is, succeeding the previous president after the latter's death through the congressional declaration of incompetence to serve because of physical or mental illness, a maximum of 10 years, stimulating the US economy, known as the New Deal, and of course, as the US president who first declared his Pacific naval base of Pearl Harbor in Hawaii, he declared that they would live in infamy and persuaded the US Congress. He contracted polio in 1921 at the age of 39, and within a matter of 2 days, this vigorous, athletic man became a seemingly helpless invalid. But through strenuous physical therapy, he taught himself to walk briefly and clumsily with the help of crutches or cane. And when he made public appearances, he not only wore leg braces, but he also leaned on the arm or an arm of an able-bodied person, often one of his sons. And the last public speech he gave just 6 weeks before he died, on March the 1st, 1945, to the US Congress following his return from the Yalta Conference in the Soviet Union, included this seemingly a light-hearted admission, which, however, showed that he himself was preparing um, for a rather quick end of sitting down, but it's a lot easier than having to carry 10 pounds of steel on both legs. He had lost weight rapidly during his presidential campaign and even afterwards. And as a result of that, his leg braces no longer fitted him and gave him little or no support. This detail, for example, is from William A. de Gregorio's classic book. While he was a lifelong member of the Episcopalian Church, he rarely spoke of his faith. Check. Yeah. Lucy Mercer Rutherford, who lived from 1891 to 1948, and she was actually present in the so-called Little White House in Warm Springs, Georgia, when FDR suffered that hemorrhage. Quickly, however, she left apartments. Okay, let's go to the Business Insider article. It's first initiated in 1911. I think at the time he was serving in the New York State legislature, and later became a grandmaster in 1934. Official blog features several historical materials that deal with his participation in Freemasonry. In 1935, his press conferences, Kennedy had given a defeatist interview that a democracy failed in Britain, probably also happened in the United States, and including on multiple occasions playing organ at rural church services. However, in his adult life, he seldom attended church. In a diary entry in 1918, his wife Eleanor noted that his recent attendance 2 weeks in a row was surely a great sacrifice to please her. According to Eleanor, Roosevelt was more likely to go out golfing with his friends on Sunday morning than he was to be found in prayer. He did, however, attend church irregularly, though it was Episcopalian, Baptist, and Methodist services, and then during his presidency after 1933, he attended special church services on the anniversary of his first inauguration, March the 4th. Although he was not a regular church goer, he maintained a personal inner faith. And well, apparently, despite his long-term affair with Miss Mercer. According to Eleanor, he had a strong religious feeling and his religion was a very personal one. I think he actually felt he could ask God for guidance and receive it. He never talked about his religion or his beliefs and never seemed to have any intellectual difficulties about what he believed. He referenced Christian concepts in many of his speeches, mentioning God in all four of his inaugural addresses, asking for divine guidance through difficult times. He asserted the importance of the Bible in American history, declaring, "We cannot read the history of our rise and development as a nation without reckoning with the place that the Bible has occupied in shaping the advances of the Republic. Its teaching, as has been wisely suggested, is plowed into the very heart of the race." In his famous 1941 State of the Union address, he included freedom of religion as one of the essential four freedoms that he felt were becoming increasingly threatened by the turmoil abroad, meaning the Second World War. In the 1942 State of the Union address, delivered less than 1 month after the United States entered the Second World War officially, Roosevelt framed the conflict in religious terms, much like his friend, the British Prime Minister Winston Churchill, who, just like Washington, was not, just like Roosevelt, sorry, was not a regular church goer, but still evoked Christian themes and principles during the Second World War, probably catering to that portion of the British public and, generally speaking, of the Allied public who were either true Christians or at least religious people. Our enemies are guided by brutal cynicism, so he was referring to the Nazi Germans, fascist Italians, and then those militaristic Japanese leaders. By unholy contempt for the human race, a subtle reference to the Holocaust, which was about to start full force. We are inspired by a faith that goes back through all the years to the first chapter of the book of Genesis. God created man in his own image. We on our side are striving to be true to that divine heritage. We are fighting as our fathers have fought to uphold the doctrine that all men are equal in the sight of God.